Lore is a growing commodity throughout all media, something jump-started by a silly performing bear game, yet something used in nearly every title alive now. However, when it comes to the Sonic series, we have lore and a continuous story that we can trace back all the way to the Genesis games from the 90s, especially with the addition of Angel Island, the Master Emerald, and Sonic Adventures edition of the Chao. Between the ancient echidnas, or even the lore of the Chaos, and their previous form that we learn more about in Frontiers, there are many mysteries to be solved in the world of Sonic, mysteries that could be solved by everyone's favorite detective agency, the Chaotix. For those who haven't been acquainted, the Chaotix is a group of detectives that got their start back in the classic series on the 32X. This title was called Knuckles Chaotix, or just the Chaotix outside of the US. This title saw a group of familiar and new faces, including the likes of Knuckles, obviously, Mighty, whose only other appearance at the time was on the SEGA Sonic arcade machine, Heavy and Bomb, who were new to the series, and then our stars, Vector, Espio, and Charmy. This game was a unique title that ditched the traditional platforming of the previous Sonic games and opted for a more vertical climb, with longer stretches to run on to play into the game's unique mechanic of tethering. In the levels of this game, you would play as two characters at a time that would be tethered together by rings that they hold and can't let go of. It was a different title that also included a boss fight with Metal Sonic, who transformed into a monster version that was referenced in Sonic Mania's Plus update. This game has only ever been on the 32X and hasn't been played by many, with the only way to play it nowadays being through emulation. However, all of it was made non-canon when SEGA brought back the Chaotix into the modern timeline in Sonic Heroes. Sonic's first true multi-platform title would see the return of Vector, Espio, and Charmy, with new designs and now acting as a failing detective agency. And instead of finding out the mystery of where Mighty, Heavy, and Bomb went, they are instead tasked with trying to find a location given to them from a mystery caller, Eggman. Their levels in this game focused on them finding certain amounts of different objects, whether it be getting rings or finding some hermit crabs on a beach to prove their abilities. Not really detective tasks, but it works for the game they're in. However, since then, these detectives have taken a back seat to the action, not having any playable roles in the mainline series since, with their side roles being tied to being frozen in Generations and Vector and Espio being party goers in the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. And there was also some racing stuff and Forces stuff, etc, but I really want to get to the point of this video. However, before I do, I would love if you were to subscribe to my channel, as I would love to make entertaining all of you into my career, and your subscription could massively help me in achieving that goal. So join the Ostentatious family today, and let's get into this video. So with the future potential of getting spin-off games focused on the side characters, something alluded to in the end of Frontiers, and further confirmed with the Shadow Story edition in the Sonic Generations remaster, I think a focus should be put onto the Chaotix and their very own mystery detective title. With Frontiers refocusing the story and lore of the Sonic series, it would be the perfect time to reintroduce the Chaotix in a title that could continue this world building in a perfect way that allows them to build mystery and intrigue over the course of the game. Now I know what you're thinking. What type of story could we tell in this Chaotix game? Well, let me set the scene for you. We start off our adventure, focusing on the Chaotix as they just moved into the big city with hopes of driving up their business. However, it doesn't seem to be working out for them as they are having a hard time keeping the lights on. Poor and desperate for work, these three try and find odd jobs until one day, when Cream, looking worried and scared, approached the Chaotix needing help as she can't find her pet Chow Cheese. Vector, needing the work and, well, having the hots for Cream's mom, accepts, asking questions about the last place Cheese had been seen, learning that one of the last places they had been was a Chow garden. Having their first lead, the Chaotix make their way to the garden. Upon arriving, we are met with caution tape blocking our way in. After talking to a guard who's keeping watch, we learn that there is an active investigation in this and many other Chow gardens, as all of the Chow have mysteriously gone missing. Intrigued by this, Vector looks for a way to distract the guard, causing some ruckus in the distance, giving the perfect opportunity for Espio and Charmy to sneak on through while the guard is distracted. Inside the garden, Espio and Charmy have to work together to sneak around the people investigating the area, using Charmy's flight and Espio's camouflage. Making their way through, Espio spots a familiar blue quill. Espio takes the quill and gets out of there, Charmy following suit. Upon meeting back up with Vector outside of the garden, SBO shows him the quill. Vector, being the best detective in the group, links the quill to Sonic, giving them their next lead. Heading to Tails' main lab found on the island of Green Hills, the Chaotix are lucky to find Sonic hanging out with Tails as he grills up a chili dog for Sonic, while Sonic is kicked back in a hammock in between two palms. Vector, taking the lead, officially starts accusing Sonic of taking the chow, as he gets full of himself, thinking he solved the mystery. Sonic and Tails, both confused as to what Vector is ranting about, start asking him questions, SBO cutting in to calmly explain the situation. With more knowledge of what's going on, Sonic denies stealing any chow, Vector questioning why his quill was found at the scene of the crime. Sonic explains to him that it must have been from his last fight with Eggman, describing a solid left hook Eggman got in with one of his machines. Vector takes a second to think to himself as he ponders what Eggman would have been doing in the garden in the first place. With new questions at hand, the Chaotix make their way to Eggman's base in White Acropolis. Arriving at Eggman's base, SBO is concerned about the lack of security measures as they were able to get to the base with ease. Unable to get in through the front door, they send Charmy to find a way in. Flying around the building, Charmy finds a vent shaft big enough for him to squeeze through, making his way in, avoiding laser grids set up as a security measure. After getting inside, Charmy opens the front door, letting in Vector and SBO. To all of their surprise, they find the base completely trashed, almost as if someone, or something, was searching the place. Investigating the ruins of the base, the Chaotix stumble upon some strange goo on the floor. Seemingly out of place, SBO takes a vial and scoops up a sample. As he closely examines the vial, Charmy cuts in saying he found a computer that's still in one piece. Vector takes the memory out of the computer, talking about how they could cross-reference Eggman's files to see what they could find about this whole Chow conspiracy. As they leave the base to make their way back to their office, we, the players, see an almost familiar shaped shadow pass behind some of the rubble in the back. What happens next? Well, that's not to be discovered until one of a number of things happens. I would either want to see SEGA pick up the title, which, it's kind of unlikely. So the other two options would be to make the game myself, but I'd need a team for that. So lastly, I could make a video dedicated to the telling of this story, but that all depends on the amount of love and support this video gets. However, this video isn't over yet. Now that we know the type of story we're telling, what type of gameplay would we be looking at to complement it? Obviously, we wouldn't have our traditional Sonic game formula, as we wouldn't be focusing on speed, but instead our gameplay would be focused on exploring different areas, looking for clues, as well as ways to progress through the game. In just the short amount of what I've described, we can see the vision for the gameplay. We're arriving to the entrance of the Chow Garden. We have to explore the area to get a feel for what is going on. We would also have to talk to the people around us in order to gather information that would be useful to our investigation, whether it's learning about the Chow going missing all around, or talking to another NPC that could guide us to the distraction we could use to take the guards' attention away from the entrance. There is a focus on getting to know the set pieces so that it feels like you're actually solving the mystery with the Chaotix. There would also be clues scattered around in the environment so that players can try to solve the case before it's solved in the story. The next sections I had touched on are the stealth sections. Those being SBO and Charmy infiltrating the Chow Garden during the active investigation, or Charmy making his way through the vents avoiding the laser grid. I want there to be a focus on stealth, as it makes the player have to take in their environments and look for opportunities to move. But I'd also like there to be gameplay elements that complements each of the Chaotix's best features. Vector is the head detective, being able to put clues together the fastest, as well as being a musical genius. Maybe being able to use his tunes to distract or disorient people. SBO is a ninja who has keen sight, picking up on things that most would overlook, as well as being able to camouflage to evade being seen in stealth sections. And then there's Charmy. He's comic relief, providing cute, lighthearted banter to take the edge off when needed, but also being able to use his size and flight to make his way through spaces SBO and Vector wouldn't be able to. All three of them together making the perfect crime-solving team. When it comes to the locations chosen, especially concerning all the eye rolls I got when I mentioned Green Hill, I thought it was important to set the locations we would visit in established places that exist. I also feel it's important to make the distinction from the islands and the big cities, as it would provide in-game context on how the inhabitants work, with human characters inhabiting the mainland and the anthropomorphic animals mostly sticking to the islands, thus clearing up misconceptions from earlier games and tightening up the world building in the Sonic series. I think a game like this could make a perfect spin-off title for the series, giving the spotlight to some of the most deserving characters while being a unique experience we couldn't get from the rest of the Sonic cast. I also think there is huge potential in bonus content, where exploring the environments past what the story requires could unlock different costumes, such as a Sherlock Holmes get-up for Vector, a ninja outfit for Espio, or a wasp-themed outfit for Charmy, just giving one example for each character. Another thing that could be made unlockable are some of the older Sonic titles, first and foremost being a playable version of Knuckles' Chaotix from the 32X. Some other options could be finding a certain amount of missing posters of Mighty to unlock Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, making it the first time the game would be ported from the arcade cabinet, maybe utilizing the PS5 controller's touchpad as a replacement for the trackball. Another deep cut could be unlocking a port of Vector Man from the Sega Genesis. All would be fun inclusions that could bring these titles back into the conversation, as I'd hate to see these classics lost to obscurity, seeing that the technology has advanced so much that making playable ports or emulation shouldn't be too crazy of a task. But with all that being said, those are just some of the ideas I have when it comes to the future of spin-offs in the Sonic series. If you like what I've shared, or would like to hear some more ideas I have for the future, please let me know in the comments. I have a lot to share about this, as I actually wrote a college essay just on this topic. Also, if you have ideas for what you would like to see for potential spin-off or future Sonic games, I'd love to hear them. If you look through my videos, you'll notice I respond to next to all of my comments, and that's because I make these videos to engage with all of you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas in the comment section below, as they might even help me in deciding the topics I talk about in a future video. And with that, this is the end of the video. I would like to thank you for making it all the way here. So as I close out, I'd hope you check out the links in my bio where you can find my Twitch, Discord, and other important plugs. And finally, with all that said, I will see you next time.